Can you imagine there are about 50 million people living in modern slavery, with 28 million in forced labor and 22 million trapped in forced marriage? Yes, you heard that right. This is according to the latest Global Estimates of Modern Slavery report in 2021. The specter of modern slavery persists, sparing neither women nor children, cutting across the tapestry of nations regardless of ethnicity, culture, or faith. Astonishingly, the shadows of forced labor loom over more affluent societies, with over half the burden and a quarter of coerced unions haunting the realms of upper middle and high-income countries. So, this leaves us only to... Normally, when the word slavery is mentioned, what comes to mind? It often evokes images of black Africans in chains, forcibly transported to the Americas during the Transatlantic Slave Trade centuries ago. Or perhaps you will conjure up the lasting legacy of colonialism and imperialism, which divided countries, races, and castes across the global south, leading to the enduring systems of slavery and oppression that continue to affect societies today. Imagine a thread that weaves the dark past of historical slavery with the chilling reality of modern enslavement. It's easy to draw a line between them, yet often we fail to see how they're intertwined, fueled by oppressive systems, xenophobia, and the specter of racism. Picture this. The age-old practice of buying and selling humans for exploitation has not vanished, but rather transformed. The victims of modern slavery, a diverse tapestry including people of color, migrant workers, and marginalized groups, still bear the weight of exploitation. Not in chains, but in the shackles of modern-day forms. And talking of exploitation, first, there's the haunting tale of forced labor, a gripping narrative that unfolds predominantly in the shadows of the private sector. Around 86% of forced labor stories unravel here, with nearly 4 out of 5 victims being women and girls. Shockingly, even children, innocent souls, aren't spared, trapped in the web of forced commercial sexual exploitation. On the other hand, there is... Picture a world where an estimated 22 million souls were trapped in the suffocating clutches of forced marriage in 2021 alone. A staggering rise of 6.6 million from just 5 years prior. This is the world we are currently living in, of the heart-wrenching chapter of forced marriage. Trace back the origins, and you'll find deep-seated patriarchal norms lurking like ghosts from the past. It's a global tale, with 2/3 of forced marriages unfolding in Asia and the Pacific. These aren't just numbers. They're stories of stolen lives, especially among children aged 16 and younger, unable to grasp the concept of consent. I know you can tell how it feels for a younger girl who has dreams and is unable to speak for herself. Well, you're not alone in this. Surprisingly, yup, that's right. In a recent voyage through public sentiment, courtesy of the Pew Research Center, the reverberations of historical slavery in America remain a resounding echo in the present. The survey, a snapshot of opinions taken earlier this year, unveils a striking reality. Around 63% of those surveyed believe that the legacy of slavery exerts a substantial or moderate influence on the standing of black individuals in contemporary American society. This observation paints a vivid picture of how the past's shadows extend into the intricate web of today's racial dynamics. Unveiling more layers of perception, the survey revealed another chapter. A significant segment of American adults, 45%, opine that the nation's efforts to grant equal rights to black people have fallen short in comparison to their white counterparts. And stepping further into the realm of racial lenses, the survey's spotlight illuminates a landscape of differing horizons. An overwhelming 78% of black adults voice a poignant refrain: the nation's strides toward equality haven't been sufficient. These findings highlight the disparities in perspectives regarding the advancements of racial equality in the United States among different racial and ethnic groups. So, what do these statistics really tell us about the legacy of slavery? Well, can we say, what do you think about this? Share your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like the video. Now, travel with me to a world where laws stand against the chains of slavery, yet the echoes of this darkness persist. Even in the face of resolute anti-slavery legislation, the battle is far from won. Not all laws wield the same power, and shadows of ineffectiveness cast doubt on their reach. Corruption and a lack of political resolve have conspired to keep the wheels of justice slow, allowing modern-day slavery to persist unchecked. In certain countries, such as Mauritania and Libya, modern slavery resembles the historical practices of centuries ago. In Mauritania, a minority of light-skinned Arab Berber elites have held dominion over their dark-skinned Haratin brethren and Afro-Mauritanians for generations. The chains of enslavement, passed down like a grim inheritance, persists unabated. Shockingly, up to 18% of the population remains trapped, toiling without recompense, their bodies and spirits violated by grueling labor and unspeakable acts of violence. Their existence is one of servitude, where freedom is but a distant dream and the shackles of history hold them tight. Meet Biram Dar Abid, the visionary behind the Initiative for the Resurgence of the Abolitionist Movement. His efforts have unshackled countless souls from the chains of enslavement, a beacon of change in a land where the legacy of bondage still looms large. Yet, the path to freedom is not without its trials. Biram and his allies, warriors of justice, find themselves in a relentless struggle against the tides of harassment and arrests. The very authorities meant to safeguard have become a barricade, an unwavering foe as their voice rise against the cruelty of slavery. Similarly, in Libya, racism and colorism have been key factors driving slavery. The shocking exposure of African migrants being auctioned in slave markets garnered global attention a few years ago. Since then, distressing reports have emerged of migrants and refugees facing forced labor in overcrowded and disease-ridden detention centers. Black and dark-skinned refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa are disproportionately affected by trafficking and forced labor. The United Nations has even reported that black people in Libya are commonly referred to as abidat, which translates to slaves. This reveals the deeply concerning and dehumanizing treatment of black individuals in the country. But really, what are the drivers of modern slavery? Certain communities and individuals are particularly vulnerable to modern slavery due to their lack of protection and past experiences of persecution and discrimination, both from governments and exploitative private sector entities. These at-risk groups include the poor, low-wage migrant workers, ethnic and racial minorities, immigrants, prisoners, girls and women, refugees, and other persecuted individuals. Industries with weak worker protections, such as fishing, domestic work, manufacturing, agriculture, and construction, are more susceptible to modern slavery. These industries often employ the aforementioned vulnerable communities through informal arrangements referred to as 3D jobs: dirty, degrading, and dangerous. In these poorly regulated sectors, unscrupulous employers can exploit or traffic workers who already face marginalization in society and have limited access to legal aid and resources to address their trauma. For instance, in India, victims of forced labor and bonded labor, particularly in brick kilns, predominantly come from the Dalit or untouchable caste. The discrimination faced by Dalits as an impoverished and marginalized caste significantly affects their employment opportunities. Extreme poverty compels them and other minority groups in India to take out loans that lead to debt bondage, trapping them in endless labor without adequate earnings to repay their debts. Modern slavery is a pressing global issue affecting vulnerable communities worldwide. Now, let me ask you, how can we collectively work to combat modern slavery and protect those at risk? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's create a world where everyone can live free from exploitation and injustice.